Thank you guys for your patience. I know we haven't been doing as many lives as normal. Been down with COVID. Don't get it. If you can, it's still around. The freaking long COVID brain fuzziness thing is real and it sucks nards. It's not fun. Thankfully, we've got Nishant on this morning, and he's smart. I'm just gonna have you do lots of talking, frankly, because we had a little chat before coming on. This is a couple weeks ago now. And thank you, by the way, Nishant, just for your patience, just because I know we've had to reschedule this a couple times now with me getting the plague.
No, Corey. Thanks for having this. I mean, I have heard a few of your, these podcasts, and I really like the vibe that you bring. So
Cool.
looking forward to this discussion.
All right. So on that note, so I've been doing this. I wanted to do before getting sick. I started out this thing where we're in the bear market. And we're getting things sort of refactored for the uplift kind of rigging for winter, and that's almost done. And we're about to launch some new stuff, but like the energy's different, right? And I was contemplating how to just be the opposite of that, right? And like we've got so many amazing people on our network. Okay, like how fast can I talk to 100 amazing people? Kind of ask them the same, general questions, and sort of create this little mini collection inside of our show. That really highlight the people that are in this space and are building. And so thank you for being part of that. Because I know you're awesome. Now I didn't before. And here's the thing: like anyone that Chan introduces me to, like she basically points, "This Corey, you need to have this person on. No questions asked." Like, yeah. Chan walks on water.
Corey, like, are you doing okay? You had your throat and all is okay? I mean, depending on that, I'll make you speak less or more.
Yeah, no, my throat's actually doing all right now.
Yeah.
The weird, like the thing for me, like we started researching a couple of days ago because it's been like almost 3 weeks. Like should have been done kind of by now, and I'm having the sort of like the brain fuzziness. Like it's tough to explain because it's not just like how we've been checking my O2 sats, like how much oxygen's in my bloodstream kind of constantly, right? Because that can sort of crash in some cases when you have COVID, and that's been all right. And it turns out your freaking neurons start getting like inflamed. Like you get the brain, fogginess or whatever. And I was having a hard time explaining what that was like. I was like, I'm conscious, but if I get up, like I start stumbling, like I can't, walk very well. And in the afternoon, like I'm basically useless. Like I'm getting a few hours in the morning now where things are all right. But yeah, that's why I keep having to reschedule because of course all of our show schedules, have been in the morning, but I've just been brain dead. Like it's been tough. So this is sort of the first, time back where we're doing a show and I'm still more or less good. Yeah. By this afternoon, my eyes will cross, but we're good. Sorry, go ahead.
Spirit, Corey, actually gives me goosebumps.
Oh, well, thanks for that. I mean, for me, it's infuriating. Like, I'm not the smartest guy on the best of days, but I just want to make sure that for the team that we're building and the DAO, and because we've been through so much with the Uplift over the last couple of years that I just refuse to be like I just don't want to hold anything up. You know what I mean? So it's been frustrating. Speaking of DAOs, I would love to say that I totally orchestrated all of that to bring that back around to the Nishant, but I'm not that smart even on a good day. So maybe if you could give us a brief or long, there's no rules, introduction, about yourself and about what you're working on right now.
Yeah, sure. So maybe a little background on me. So after my master's, I started off in a Barcelona-based boutique consultancy, innovation consultancy, where I worked for clients such as P&G and Intel. And it was really about looking at the broader landscape and trying to answer the question where to play, how to win, sort of things. Yeah, very interesting projects. Then I joined an Indian conglomerate, and first I worked at the group level. They have 14 businesses. just working on projects such as new opportunity areas or knowledge management. And then I went on to lead head innovation in their consumer electronics division, where I saw, right from new opportunity identification to product development, 5 or 6, different products. And then I started feeling pretty confident that, I have the whole, I would say, journey from absolutely starting from new opportunity identification to taking product to go to market. Let's build something of my own. And that's how I started my own journey of building a startup. uh, well, I in going back to October 2019, I and my current business partner Naman, we started uh, Lomads, which was then about, I would say, IRL communities and events. It's really about purposeful meetups, doing something, and when COVID came, we were like, okay, this is like SARS. It will go away in a month, 2 months, we'll forget. And this is like, every time it raises its head, fourth, fifth, third, I don't know how many waves. And we built through it. And whenever there was like relaxations, we did like small scale tests. And finally, when we really picked up in 2021, towards the second half of the year,
Mhm.
we started to realize that, like groups such as, let's say, group of artists or filmmakers, they can do so much more if they have a shared treasury. Because let's say filmmakers are pooling in some money to do some short films, but it's very informal and it cannot go over a certain scale. And that led us to explore the concept of DAO, and we realized that this is the market where the next value steep value creation is going to happen. And that's how we started early this year building this tool for DAO. So now, this, I would say, Lomads 2.0, what it is basically I would say, business management tool geared for accountability. Now let me break it down. uh, so business management, I say, is because it's not a productivity tool, but it's like where you see the key levers of driving business, like your financial sustainability. You see the key decision making, which could be around your proposals and voting. And you have your operations, so who is responsible for what and how the budget is being allocated. So having that visibility at one place goes a long way in aligning all the different stakeholders together and to have productive, fruitful discussion. Now that's visibility. You go one layer above it and add automations. And that's really another thing which reduces the huge administrative burden of the core contributors. So for example, if you are hitting project milestone, completing tasks, they are automatically going for treasury payments, or through proposals you can create a new project, and so on and so forth. So everything automated is there. And then there is this third element which I use the word accountability for, and that makes our platform very special, is the use of soulbound tokens. So I'm not leading by saying soulbound tokens, but I'm leading by saying accountability. uh, and that's very interesting because if you are really making tooling for organizations which either make a product or make a service, then a member's contribution is her contribution, and she should be held accountable, should earn reputation and sweat equity for what he or she has contributed. And that's why the soulbound token is a perfect use case, which captures the contribution, and it also personalizes the dashboard as per the role of the member. So basically, the kind of view that a core contributor needs, which is everything, and maybe also do treasury transactions, will be different than a view which a regular contributor needs. Maybe they don't need to see so much details on treasury or the send button. They only need to see the tasks and projects they are part of or eligible for. So it really personalizes without storing individuals' data. So you really are addressing the data ownership while giving them a Web2 like, personalized experience. So that would be the introduction, for Lomads and for, how I reached here to today.
I mean, I kind of want to go back to the beginning. We were talking about like it's like being an innovation consultant like is rad as hell. I mean, that's just cool. But what you said about where to play and how to win, and basically choosing the DAO to create value because it's such a new space. Could you maybe speak to why you think that DAOs are going to have such steep value creation over the next little while? I mean, you're going to be preaching to the choir, but who doesn't love a good sermon?
Yeah, there are personal reasons here. When you start entrepreneurial journey, you also have your personal reason. And I am really very serious about, I would say, not work, which I call my wife when she sees that I'm very busy, and like she says, "What are you busy with on a Sunday?" I am saying I'm busy with my not work. These are my personal projects, my hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm someone who is really gives time and attention to whatever I fall for, a new passion. So I think I saw whether it was IRL meetups or even DAOs as a way of pursuing what really clicks an individual, really makes you come more alive. And I think, and that's what I thought that, this is something worth doing. And a few places I also wrote like on a more philosophical note that if humans are a species which has inherent regenerative tendencies, then DAOs are actually gonna help us realize that, because we have really let's say in I would say milder tone, done bad things to the environment, to inequality and stuff. And I think it's time that we started rebuilding the fractured society and environment, and even businesses and stuff like that. So and DAOs are gonna be means for that. And one of the things I say is that we have to really think about different scale. It's not going to be just, in terms of volume or value, the corporations of yesteryear. Like it's going to be like Facebook groups. Are there 400,000? I don't know, 400 million Facebook groups? Yes, they're going to be DAOs more than that, and that's the kind of everybody would have that, power to set up that shared that multi-sig,
Yeah.
and bring to people who really align with that, and go forward. And it's
Yeah.
our job to make it happen and to democratize, well, that's a catch for phrase, but to make the business tools accessible, so that even
Right.
if you are
Yeah,
not
right.
not an
Yeah.
MBA,
Right.
yeah,
We have to make them user friendly. Which is when like
absolutely.
my friend Max Infeld, it's fun. Like he's been my friend for a long time, but like he's super famous for being the one of the creators of my career cards now. And like he gets so every time I say Max Infeld, I feel like I'm name dropping, which I am. But he got famous after I met him, so it's cool. But yeah, no, he started something called Crown with some friends, and they were basically just set up a token on EOS, and they were doing DAO education, right? And I kept asking him, like, I like describing this stuff, like it's a new way for humans to collaborate. Like I kind of start to get a sense of the what happens when it scales, and I want to talk more about that. But I told him like, where can I go play with this? He's like, oh, well, you kind of need like a PhD in fucking smart contracts and stuff. I'm like, well, that no, I don't have that. But getting to the point now where we we set our stuff up on snapshot.org, which is relatively simple. Like we needed some smarty pants people for the startup thing, but we're getting that. and we're using Discord for the backend stuff, but I could totally see where, especially as we scale, getting to that point where we're sort of marrying those two worlds, and and having where we organize our people, the chat, Facebook group, whatever, right? Combined with the ability to sort of enmesh the treasury and smart contracts and things like that, and then have the right kind of visibility, really makes sense to me. But I had the same reaction that you did, right? Like that when we think about what's bad with capitalism. Well, it's not really capitalism, it's like corporate capitalism, right? That capacity for large corporations to start capturing things and then changing all the rules to benefit themselves. Same kind of, and the trust thing, right? Like, we don't know what goes on inside a corporation. We have no visibility, and there's no accountability for any of that, right? So it causes a lot of, I think, really understandable sort of concern about that for people that are just kind of normal people trying to figure life out, right? And I think governments are kind of the same way, where we're doing these things to collaborate. That's all a corporation is. It's just a tool set, like a rule set for human collaboration, right? And then governments are the same way, right? We're pooling resources, and the same thing applies. There's a lack of trust and lack of visibility, and it's a very sort of entrenched infrastructure, and there's a lot of entrenched interests, yada yada. We know all those stories, right? Where DAOs start to get, I mean, kind of inspiring to me. And the reason, kind of what you said, really spoke to me, as far as like, this is, we're doing this because we could, very potentially make a lot of money doing it, but also like, I kind of have to anyway, right? Like, when I wake up in the morning, like, we had to be a DAO because this is very potentially, the more we decentralize these things, the more we have capital aggregating in a massively decentralized way to hundreds of thousands, and then millions, and then hundreds of millions of different Facebook groups. And I think municipalities will get on board, and different political parties and different advocacy sort of groups or whatever. There's a real chance to kind of take the pressure off of some things that are probably the leading factor to why there's a lot of global destabilization, right? There's a lot of fear in the system. There's a lot of conflict brewing, and this really might be the way out. That's it. Yeah. Show's over. That's good. That's as smart as I've been in a month. So thanks for that.
That was great, Corey.
That was like 3 or 4 coherent thoughts in a row. Oh man. So yeah, so that's fun. All right, okay, so I've got a list of questions that I want to ask everybody in my little 100 amazing people thing. So let's start smashing through those. Yeah. Here's the first one. What are you most grateful for?
Well, that I'm able to build this, and even in this difficult time, it means a lot to me.
Yeah, amen to that. I think this morning I like to do one as well. I'm grateful I had like a little mini rant, and it wasn't entirely insane. So that's kind of fun. All right, so this might be a little bit reiterative. Hey, Lisa in the comments, she's live on a panel, or she'd join us. Thank you very much for that. She's awesome. She's running to head up one of the world DAOs for Alien Worlds. I don't know if you follow Alien Worlds at all. Totally worth following what they're doing. Right. They built in a very, very successful NFT play to earn game. But the secret sauce has always been that they wanted to gamify DAOs to teach people about DAOs. It was actually the same group that started Crown. Lisa, we were actually talking about Crown and Max and you guys already kind of birthed into this. And it really is an interesting thing. And there's like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of their token in each one of these world DAOs. And so people are now running to basically get the keys to basically hold office as the head of those things. So it's fascinating to watch. All right, so what are you most excited about between like 3 and 5 years out? So not short term, but like we're talking 3 years to 5 years out.
Okay. Yeah, like how regenerative finance plays out, and this whole idea of hyperstructure, and you talked about in one of your coherent thoughts, like how the spread and decentralization happens. So I think regenerative finance is one of the concepts there, and I
Could you
really want to.
before you go on? Could you? I don't know what regenerative finance means. Could you just describe that phrase or that concept?
Well, I'm not an expert in this area, but from what I know, it's really about more equitable distribution of wealth and using resources, which do not exhaust nature,
Mm,
Earth, but regenerates it. So, for example, it could be about farming, it could be about the whole supply chain, and up to the wealth distribution. So, really rethinking the way we think about finance, but in a way which is more aligned with natural systems. Yeah, that's what I would say, which is less extractive.
right. Have you seen the maybe think about the donut economics? There's a TED talk on it, and it's that same
Yeah.
kind of thing where basically there's like a sweet spot where the cash or the capital in an economy is constantly circulating, so it's not just constantly accruing to the top, pointlessly creating an oligarchy, but that resources, earthbound sort of resources that are finite, those are regenerated as well, right? So basically you want to be in
Yeah.
this sweet spot where
And there are like two more practical things I would like to add.
okay.
One is the crypto adoption, how the curve is going, which means that the use of crypto, not just as a DeFi yield generating
Mhm.
asset, but more, as use of stable coins and for products and services, how it's really catching up, becoming more mainstream, because that is one of the drivers of DAO as well.
Right.
Because the DAOs exist because I mean, are possible because capital coordination, ease with which capital can be allocated, deployed or collected, that's something very strong and unique about blockchain. So I think for that to really come to life, first crypto adoption has to happen, and find use in mainstream economy. So that was my second thing. And the third one is, of course, the big question mark is the legal aspect. We keep reading about legal wrappers. It's very easy today to set up DAOs around, let's say service DAOs, where individuals can have their own liability and run it. But
Mhm.
apart from that, for other types of DAOs, setting up trust is super expensive, and I mean, like at least in Switzerland and Singapore, two countries that I have studied, you know, and so I would say these three things, of course, regenerative finance generally, and then the crypto adoption and the legal aspects, and that they together will also show the potential of DAOs really, coming to realization.
Right. Yeah, I think that'll put a lot of pressure, potentially even positive pressure on governments to do the legal bits right. I think there's that thing around Bitcoin and crypto generally. Like it had gotten far enough so that they couldn't just turn it off, right? Even like the ICOs and different things that they're now arguing back and forth every freaking day. Oh, is this a security? Is that a security? Like, and we just keep building. Like, you guys just call us when you figure it out. Oh, we haven't figured it out. Do you though? Like, it's not. I don't think so. Anyway, so excuse me. But yeah, we have the uplifters wrapped in a Wyoming DAO, which just seemed like the right way to go. Although the international field is something that I'm curious about. I've been talking to Chan about Estonia and some different interesting places to create legal wrappers for organizations like this. All right, so I mean that's a fantastic answer for that question. All right, to flip it around a little bit, what's your biggest fear for civilization?
Civilization, my God, that's
Yeah, yeah. Take your time. Did you have I know it's nighttime in Paris, but you might need some coffee for this conversation, or maybe a lot of wine after you answer this question.
I hadn't prepared for civilization level answers questions, but well.
Right? Yeah. We should probably give people homework. So, like, yeah, civilization level answers or bust.
Yeah, a big threat. Yeah, I think I don't know, like personally, this whole climate crisis is something which has really been on top of my mind, for long ago, ever since I watched, Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth almost a decade, ago.
Yep.
So that stays there. I'm yeah, a little bit worried about like all this war situation and crazy dictatorship. I'm not worried, but like this is just a hiccup, things like we should be aiming for prosperity and growth and building things, and our resources are being deployed for this silly ego of people,
Yeah.
and it is causing such havoc to the economy, and people could have been building great startups and stuff, and it's not good. Yeah, I would say that. And the other thing is that in the attention economy era, because we referred to Facebook, we saw people getting disconnected and getting locked in their own bubbles or echo chambers. I think
Right.
that trend is also something we need to watch out for. Like, are we as a civilization, as individuals, getting more disconnected, isolated, or are we turning into more empathetic and I mean, like, have touch with reality, so that is something also we should keep in mind going forward. So yeah, these couple of things come to my mind.
Man, those are huge. To kind of reiterate, I mean, the climate change, so obviously is massive. I I'm a little bit like I'm moving towards being optimistic around it, just because I try to spend more time looking at things like TED Talks and things like tracking how many doubles solar panels are away before they handle global demand. Which is something that Ray Kurzweil actually mentioned. I think it was like 7 years ago or something, that we're like 8 doubles away from solar handling all of global demand, and it's doubling every 2.5 years, right? And that's actually tracked really well, right? So that's interesting, and the potential for fusion or whatever. Like there's things that are going on that don't make the news,
Hmm.
that show that we're working on it and that we're making ground. Are we making ground fast enough? Probably not, right? Like we're gonna see some a lot of negative impacts before we actually figure it out, or solve it, because it's a sort of a long-term thing. But yeah, huge concern. And then you were talking about the obviously the war, and governments have been concerned about the same thing. And to me, they're not different, right? Russia's one economic thing is energy. It's oil and gas, right? And when that gets threatened, they become insular, because it's a lot more. I think it's a lot easier for dictators to control a country when they control its major export, right? Which is absolutely true in Putin's case.
Hmm.
And then it those things sort of spiral together, which is annoying. Like like sometimes I wonder if we had I don't know, like 1 trillion solar panels, we just give them to Russia, it probably all goes away. Now, is that going to happen? No. And is it testable? Probably not. But what are you gonna do? But the siloing thing is another huge one, right? Like, where social media, it happened to me. Like I think I was not a victim of it, because I choose it, right? But I spend a lot of time thinking now about the fact that everything that I do online is training the algorithms, right? Like, you have to kind of, like, for me personally, like, I want to own that I'm doing this, right? The algorithm is not some nefarious thing. It's literally a reflection of all of my choices, and I have to understand that, right? If I'm automatically saying I definitely don't want to see any of these people, then well, I'm that's a choice. I'm silencing myself, right? Now, granted, in the States here, like, I don't want to see like dumb hillbilly shitheads, right? It's just not, they're not enlightening. But having that perspective in my head, would hopefully engender, and this is the thing that you brought up, our ability to cultivate empathy, is really the way out of, you know, a lot of this stuff, right? So, and I wonder if having a more and this probably is testable, right? Like having a broader sort of exposure to different views would hopefully create more empathy. I don't know, maybe they have an algorithm for that.
And I think if parents are sensitive and they really cultivate in their kids, because I see some of my younger cousins, just picking up a phone and not paying attention to conversations in social setting. I think they need to learn to really sense the body language and emotions and be there. And if you just take care while they are before 12 years, while you can still shape them, uh, I think it's fine. They will learn to take care of tech themselves. So I think, just as to all the parents, I think it should be a responsibility that they just be mindful of this, I
Yeah, I
guess.
agree. Don't let the TikTok algo train your kids.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man. So I think you kind of answered this question already, but what's your primary focus day to day? Which project? Lomads?
It's Lomads, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
Um,
single.
it's just the overwhelming obsession.
With the DAO, actually, our relationship with work is gonna be polygamous, but I'm more
I like
right
that.
monogamous.
I can see the T-shirt already. Pro polygamy in work.
Yeah, it's gonna be many to one, yeah, many to many relationship.
Right?
So,
We mean DAOs.
yeah.
That's awesome. So, I know we touched on this before, but I want to, ask it in this context because I think my sort of the long-term goal of this is to be able to come back and search through these 100 episodes and sort of give compilation, of answers. So, the next question is, why this current project and not something else? And why were you compelled to do what you're doing now? And again, I know you kind of spoke to this a little bit before, but how would you answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, of course, first, what we were doing earlier, Lomads 1.0, that led us to here. And when I saw, on one side potential, the market, and the other side what exists, and I felt that given my skills, I can do so much better with, in terms of UX, in terms of really identifying, the whole market story. So I'm going to give you one example, for example. One example. So it's the whole market is right now run by tech people. It's an early adopters market, and so it's very easy to build that option, this option, and that smart contract, that thing, and then what you get uh, is a blob of drop down menus and features, and it almost becomes so complicated. There is one simple insight which can really change this, is that just like individuals, organizations also go through different stages of maturity. So let's say for birds, you have hatchling, nestling, juvenile, adult. And for each stage, they have different needs. And if you start, bundling the feature as per, functions as per the maturity, then life is so much easier. Then nobody would come to you and say that, oh, I feel I will have to do a PhD in governance and have to understand all the smart contracts to start. No, if you are a hatchling, then you just start. These are the things you need. You don't need to figure out everything, and you can just start it, right?
So that maybe the hatchling thing, like maybe a killer app could be. So I just think I keep going back to the Facebook group or the chat group with a bank account or whatever, right? Like that sort of that initial layer doesn't even necessarily require a bank account or what have you. But like, what if you could create a plugin for Discord or Facebook groups, right? That just like as a one button, like, hey, do you want to turn your Discord into a DAO? Click this button and kablamo, right? Like just like that, the thing that when I was first beginning, I would have clicked on that button instantaneously. right? Like I know DAOs are the future. I have no freaking clue how they work. I kind of do now, but I'm still learning, right? But like that, just to allow people to instantaneously get their feet wet and start exploring what it means.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, we have internally classified and like have detailed out a little bit. So, for example, for nestling stage, you can have the first grant or the pre-seed, some kind of fund. So you need a bank account. But before, like bank account, I mean multi-sig treasury. But before that, like you could be bootstrapping, and what you need is some sort of sweat points or experience points to really give to people for their contribution they are making. What is important for you is to assemble the OG, or original gang, your early contributors,
Yep.
and to really reward their sweat contributions in a more quantitative way, so that they really understand they're building towards it, so that when you later on launch your token or get a funding, you can really reward them for the contributions they have made. What is more important for you is to have task management and even project milestone and stuff to set up your socials, grow your community, so on and so forth. So each stage, maybe you are also defining your purpose better, so that for nestling you can really apply for grants and everything, and pre-seed and stuff. So for every stage it varies. Let's say for juvenile, it's really setting up more automation and processes. That is very important, because maybe your team is now growing to core contributors are growing to 250, 300, 500. And for really for the adult stage, you need custom smart contracts and connecting all your third party applications and stuff to this. So it really varies for different stages what's needed. And it also depends on the type of the DAO, actually. So we see that the needs of, for example, NFT fraction, like shared ownership DAO, may have slightly different governance need than a product or service DAO, or a gaming guild, or an impact DAO. So they have, so the first is really the type. You really need to understand what type of organization you're talking about, and then the second one is really your maturity of the organization. Then you already start to get a thinner slice, where you can be very, you can give definitive set of features which they would need. And I started with saying the use of SBT to personalize the dashboard. Then that's the final level of personalization, when your dashboard is personalized as per your role in the organization. So think of three things: the type of the organization, the majority of the organization, and then your role within the organization. You absolutely get the thing that is needed for you. So that's the kind of thing you can really bring if you bring that design approach to really simplifying things, and how to increase the efficiency and make lives better for everybody, so that you don't have burnout, by the way. And that's our Twitter space discussion, beating the burnout tomorrow evening by Paris time.
Oh, that's get me the link to that, and I'll share that out so people can check that out. All right, last question. So who are the top 2 or 3 most amazing people in your direct circle, and why? Like the people that you would kind of call your wise advisors.
Of course, I have to name Chang. She has been so supportive and always evangelizing what we are doing and speaking about us. So it's super nice. I have to say, apart from the New Moon Foundation, I also the accelerator. I joined Outlier Ventures, and which is a UK based accelerator, and I think like several advisors there are of amazing caliber, and to really help us be on the right track. I mean, there are a lot of people I can actually name, but I think I think these well, let's say, yeah, it's good.
All right. those are all the we finished. Homework done. Nailed it. Is there anything you guys have going on? So the Twitter Spaces, I'll get the link out to all of our socials so people can check that out. Yeah, burnout's real. After this, bull market, we started dropping like flies. We had like a pretty challenging, last year or whatever, but it's definitely legit.
But here's the big thing, I think, and it's a good time to be talking to you today, because our private beta went live today on Polygon mainnet.
Oh, cool.
So and we are taking in people for the first cohort, who will be able to use the platform till 7th November. So the link is pinned on our Twitter.
Okay.
So those who really like and want to try what is it, then go and fill the link on our Twitter Twitter handle. And I had shared this video. I mean, like, you can post it, otherwise we will be sharing with them. So very, very exciting. Would need your feedback, because it's just the beginning of the journey. And
Right.
you asked about 3 to 5 years, and I mean, for all those things to happen, all of us have to keep making efforts.
Yeah.
And
no, that's we actually have some friends with products on Polygon, so we'll get the link out and see if any projects want to hop on board. Sure, I'll let Jimmy know too, because Jimmy, there was a group that helped a bunch of people from projects from Terra move over to Polygon, and that might be a good connect for you guys. I'll put my thinking cap on too tomorrow morning, because after this I'm going to bed. Super exciting. I mean, Nishant, thank you so much for coming on. And it's lomads.xyz. And what's your guys' Twitter for Lomads?
Yeah, it's Lomads_CO.
Lomads_CO.
There we are. And
Right.
Corey, once again, thank you so much for having me, and kudos to that's S.
Damn it.
It's, sorry.
You know what? I even saw it a few seconds ago. Like,
Nomads. It's like nomads, local nomads. That's how it started.
Local nomads. I like that. That's good.
So Corey, I was saying, wanted to thank you really. Like, for your spirit that in spite of whatever your little sickness that you have, but you really shared such wonderful, amazing thoughts, coherent thoughts.
Yeah, like 3 in a row there for in the middle. I was like,
you're rocking, man. That's great. It was fun.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah.
We'll talk again soon, and we'll get some of those links out. And have a great Twitter space tomorrow, and we'll have you back. I mean, that's the thing that Jimmy and I wanted to do with this show is we don't want to just have people on once and then you never hear from them again. Like, anytime you have any updates or any milestones going on with Lomads, or honestly anytime you just want to pop on the show, just ask for the link and we'll get you in the rotation.
Talk about the civilization. Yeah, sure. I think.
Right. All right. Yeah. Civilization level answers only. Awesome, man. All right. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Ciao.